time for our political panel on your Wednesday morning. We're joined at the desk, which is so refreshing. Greens co-leader Marama Davidson is here. Morena, good morning.
Morena.
Good to see you. And ACT leader David Seymour is with us in Auckland this morning as well. Good morning to you. Hey, let's start with New Zealand first, actually. What a great place to start. So a lot of talk about him, David, in the last little while about racism and the stuff that he's been saying in the House. Do you think what he's saying is racist?
Well, I disagree that a person should be somehow pulled down for their background. What we saw was a criticism of Te Anau Tuiono saying, well, because he's from Rarotonga, he shouldn't be able to question something. I think that's wrong. But I make a second point, is that too many people have been throwing around this epithet racism, often to people who are nothing of the sort, that it's lost all its meaning. So I'm not going to get into whether he's racist because unfortunately certain people have made that a meaningless term. But do I think anyone should ever be pulled down or told that their views don't count or they're invalid because of where they're born? No, in this case, the guy's been elected to Parliament and he should have the same rights as everyone else.
So, Marama, given that your party has called it racist, Labor's called it racist, you wouldn't work with Winston Peters, surely?
Oh, he's a desperate person who is trying to disguise the fact that his government have made things worse for cost of living. So he's now desperately pulling at insults and behaviour not becoming of the House, actually. Fancy pulling on a proud Cook Island, Aituan, actually, the Cook Islanders will correct me, Aituan Māori, born in New Zealand. So not only is he racist, but he's incorrect in his facts. So all of it is an attempt at a Trumpian distraction away from the fact that he has not made life better for New Zealanders.
So take his oxygen away, rule out ever working with him or working in a government he's a part of.
I think our members will send a really clear message that he's not even worthy of being in Parliament, let alone working with
What's
Greens.
your preference, Marama? I know the Green members have final say, but what's your preference?
Yeah, my preference and my work and my focus is on ensuring that the Greens get the biggest support, the biggest say, so that we can decide who we work with for people and planet.
And your preference would be to not ever work with that guy?
That would absolutely be my preference,
okay.
But that is up to the members.
All right. Let's talk about the RMA reform. David, did you see this release from Horticulture New Zealand?
Yeah.
They're saying that they're actually really worried that the RMA reform could be worse for them than the current legislation that we've got. Do they have a point?
They do, as it's currently drafted, and that's why in the last couple of weeks Simon Court, who is one of ACT's MPs who's been instrumental in getting this law drafted, has been meeting with Hort NZ, meeting with the federated farmers and saying, okay, I can see what you're saying, but this was only ever a first draft. There are parts of the RMA, which, it's 780 pages of legislation.
It's a big beast.
Yeah, so it goes before a select committee for 6 months. And the whole point is that people can point things like this out. So Chris Bishop has already come out and said, look, some people think that this somehow creates a water tax. That will not happen. If you think that can happen, and you're right, we will change it.
Right.
It's never been our
So it's just a bit of a dodgy first draft.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, you look at the Resource Management Act, it's been there since 1991. In my view, it's the biggest drag or handbrake on young New Zealanders getting homes and jobs being created and developing our country and building new roads and getting pumping stations so there's no sewage on the sea. The RMA is it. 35 years, nobody did anything. David Parker took 5 years to come up with a version which would have made it worse in many respects.
All right.
We've now produced something in 2 years, and
It's got some flaws.
There's no question that the first draft is improvement.
I'm glad. At least you're honest about it.
My point is, I think it's unfair to say it's dodgy.
Okay, right. Well, I won't say dodgy, but
it's been done incredibly well under huge pressure, and we'll polish off the last bits, and it'll be great.
All right. Marama, you convinced?
So it's never good, to build over our super soil land that grows our kai. And it appears that this RMA development from this government is a development at all costs. We've all agreed that the RMA chunky wonky law needed some improvement and needed some change, yes. But we've really got to think about what's at risk here. And I'm from South Auckland, we have miles of gardens in the South Auckland that grow our healthy kai. So I'm really clear that we can protect our growing soils while building better quality, medium density for people to be connected to transport and, yes, better water infrastructure, to be surrounded by schools and the places they work. There is a way for us to do that while also protecting our living environment,
Ryan,
and our soils.
All right, I want to move on to Medimap.
But with respect, Ryan, I read through the Hort NZ press release that you sent to both of us.
Yes.
That's not their concern.
No, but this is Marama's concern,
right.
and I think that's what she expressed.
Which is not in play with this part of the law at all.
Right.
Anyway, I just want...
Well, I mean, she can make a point. She wants.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Medimap, because I want to get onto this. This is something that our viewers are very worried about, because I know the last health hack that we had, how concerned they were.
Yep.
So apparently, it's the fine is 10 grand at the moment. If you're a company that has data stolen, the maximum, the fine is up to 10 grand, and that's only really if you hide something or fail to tell them or fail to report the breach. David, you've said we need to quickly do something about this. How quickly and what?
Well, first of all, just a couple of things. I mean, this is a private company. The government's role is to be almost like a sort of umbrella over cyber threats and cyber security in New Zealand. Your question is how quickly and what do we do that? All I can say is that this has been discussed quite high up in government, even in the last couple of weeks before this happened. So I wish I could tell you exactly what. In some ways, it's some of the things we'll never say because we don't want the bad people to know what our plans are. But I can assure you that the government recognises this is a problem. I think we're behind some of our comparator countries out there, and we need to do better at it, and we will.
But forget the bad guys for a second, because. And the companies that are asking for our data, like Medimap, should they face higher penalties, much higher penalties, if our stuff gets stolen?
Well, that's one of the possibilities. There's no question. I'm not saying
because the Aussies apparently is like up to $50 million if you are the company that's responsible for or oversees a breach.
And that's one of the things that we're working on.
Okay.
People have a right to give data to a company. It's a free society.
Totally.
But also, once you start doing that in a way that's not tight, it opens up the whole country to threats from foreign actors who may want to attack us and use our data to disrupt our way of life and so on. So what is the responsibility of government versus the private company? And should there be some sort of code and some sort of incentive to follow it so you don't put a whole country at risk? That's exactly the sort of thing we're dealing with.
Marama, you know I'm not big on regulation. It's never been my go-to button. But in something like this, I'm all for it. I think you've got to regulate, and you've got to make sure the fines scare the bejesus out of companies so that they either don't ask for your information or they guard it with their life. Do you agree?
Absolutely. So let's go back a step. We're handing over public infrastructure and critical services to private companies. This is under a government who have gutted, particularly in the health space, where they've had to fire their own IT and data specialists. What oversight is there also of the criteria of the minimum cybersecurity standards, Ryan? These are questions that people deserve, because I want to acknowledge the people for whom their data has been breached and has been shared. That's a serious problem, and in the context of a government constantly cutting funding, infrastructure like this stuff starts to fall down. So what are the cybersecurity minimum standards, and what are the accountability measures for when this happens? It's happened a couple of times now recently,
these
especially
are private
in health.
Yes, but these are private companies, which I think is to your point. David, the Herald, I'm just being told, understands that you were affected by this breach. Are you aware of that? Is that true?
No, I wasn't affected by it. There was some people, allegedly the hackers changed the name of some people to my name. I just think that's a sick joke. I'm not going to give any oxygen to it. I'm more concerned about the people whose loved ones or parents may have been in these retirement villages and affected by that.
Do you have any idea why anyone would do something like that?
No, I don't understand why you would want to hack into someone else's data and invade their privacy in the first place, but I guess I'm not a cyber criminal.
Have you been given any update on whether this is a local hacker or an international hacker?
Look, I haven't been briefed on it up to the minute. I just know the basic outline that's widely circulated.
Okay. All right, I appreciate you both coming on the show this morning.
to see you,
And
Ryan.
good to have you in the studio as well.
Greatly.
To see your real face.
Come back anytime. Greens co-leader Marama Davidson and ACT leader David Seymour.